Hey guys, welcome back. Sports with Mono and Mono. It's September 30th, 2019. I'm actually solo tonight as my partner Steve was a guest yesterday on one of our podcast colleagues' site, Pick Dogs, DAWGZ, Mitch Wilson. So we thank Mitch for having Steve on, and Steve will be back with us next week. So we'll do this segment alone. And obviously our first segment is always brought to you by Coriano Trucking Incorporated, and we continuously thank them for our support, and without them, I don't know where we'd be. We'd be without sponsors, that's where we'd be. But anyway, so thanks for joining us, and lots to cover, and let's obviously start with the NFL. And being from a Jersey side of the house, it looks like the Giants made the right decision. Not that this is bashing Eli Manning. I wear an Eli Manning jersey every Sunday, but I think it was the right time for a change. Shows a lot of mobility and a lot of confidence in Daniel Jones, and he's kind of lived up to and I don't even want to say expectations, because I don't think a lot of people had expectations. A lot of people didn't agree with the pick. I did. I like David Cutcliffe and his recommendation. And like I said, he coached both Eli and David Jones. So he really has come to play every Sunday. And we don't know. He's still a rookie, so he has some growing pains. Threw a couple interceptions yesterday. But his mobility is something we've been lacking for a long time. And I think this was the right time for the change, and it's certainly paying dividends. But I will say, though, the team that they did beat, the Washington Redskins, just seem in complete disarray. And I'm sure, there's been a lot of speculation, but it's been almost long overdue that Jay Gruden is really just not the right fit for some reason. They did turn to, we've seen Case Keenum. We know what he's capable of, which is, being a backup mediocre quarterback. And I think we were less than overwhelmed with Dwayne Haskins' first debut. But again, we've seen that before for guys that went on to prominent careers in the NFL. So he's still a very, very talented kid. And just hope that the Redskins realize that and put some players around him, because right now it's going to be a very long year for them. There were some other good games yesterday with the Patriots and the Bills. And Steve and I talked about this beforehand. And, when we talk about picking games, I don't play along with the betting line, because it just seems, and over and over and over again, it just seems too coincidental. I don't know how it's done, but the Patriots were 7-point favorites, and the majority of people took them, and they win by 6. Even though I told my friend Mike Burns, who was actually at the game yesterday, big Buffalo Bills fan, that the Bills will keep it close, because I really do like their defense. And it's unfortunate, because I do like Josh Allen a lot as well. Bills fans aren't so sure, but I really like him. And he took a big hit yesterday. So hopefully he's okay and not out for an extended period of time, because I don't think Matt Barkley is the answer. But that was actually a good game. Patriots are really solid across the board, and they did what they had to do, but they just don't seem to lose it to the Buffalo Bills. It's been a long time, and since they have, I think Brady's only lost 3 times out of the last length of period of time. But the Bills are a good team. I like what Sean McDermott's doing, and I think the Bills should be optimistic. Just hope they, don't lose Allen for very long, because it'll be another 7-9, 8-8 season. So, other games, Cowboys-Saints game. Good game. Saints win by 2. What was the spread? 2.5. And again, How did they do it? I just don't know. But the Saints are a good football team, even without Drew Brees. Cowboys are an outstanding football team, too. So you expected it to be close. But to lose by half a point, at the betting window, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. And I think one of the biggest surprises of yesterday was that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers put up 55 points on the road at the Rams. Wow. I think you guys know my feelings on Jared Goff. I really, really like him a lot. He's come very, very far. But that's a surprise to everybody. And I don't think anybody even saw that coming. For them to put 55 points up was kind of the shocker of the day as far as I can see. But a couple other teams, got knocked out of the unbeaten ranks. The Ravens. Broncos took a big loss with Bradley Chubb, even though I don't think the Broncos were going anywhere anyway. He's a really, really good football player. But that's going to seal the deal for them for the rest of the year. They're going to have a long season anyway. But it was, like I said, the only other surprise I think to me was really just the Raiders beating the Colts, and that was a surprise to me because I don't see the Raiders, and I've never been a big buyer of David Carr. A lot of guys are, Raider fans are. I just haven't seen enough to think that he's the guy, or I don't even think John Gruden thinks he's the guy. But, they scored some points and beat a really good Colts team. That was a surprise to me. I think that was a surprise besides the Bucs putting up 55 in Los Angeles. So, it's 4 weeks in. Not a lot of shocking news. A lot of teams that got off to slow starts got a lot of time to make things up. So, but Darnold needs to come back for the Jets. Otherwise, it's going to be a brutal, brutal year for them. Even though I don't think he is going to be the superstar that Jet fans think he is. I never did when I saw him at Ohio State, and I don't see it right now. I'm not saying he can't turn it around, but I know he's got a lot of talent, but I don't know if he's the franchise that they're expecting him to be. So we will continue to follow, obviously, the NFL because we love the NFL. And we will continuously give our opinions on it, and we appreciate you listening to it and so forth. So I just want to move on to some college football because there's been a few things that was going on. Clemson, North Carolina game, which was excellent, by the way, but a lot of people were giving Mac Brown, crap for going for two, and I disagree. First of all, I really think Mac Brown is a great coach, and he's really done a great job returning to North Carolina. I think it was the right decision. I mean, Clemson has the ability to score on any given play, and you know what? I mean, you're not gonna make the college football playoffs, and I don't really think that's a big loss for North Carolina to only lose by one by going on for two at the end of the game. I support the decision. A lot of the pundits don't, but I really like it, and I think he's done a great job at North Carolina, and I think he got a lot of criticism that I don't think was deserved. To stay that close with the number one team in the nation is something to hold your head up high about anyway. And like I said, they're not going to win a lot of games, and they're not going to the postseason and so forth. They'll go to a bowl game, but I like the decision. There's some other games, which, like I said, I'd like to give a mention because I always thought this guy was good, but one of my friends and listeners to the show, Kenny Backert, actually brought this guy to my attention like 3 years ago. It was Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin. And, this kid, again, has his 9th straight 100-yard game with a couple of 200-plus yard games in between. And he is outstanding. And, he doesn't get the credit. I think he's going to start getting the credit now because I think Wisconsin, like I said, they went in and beat Michigan, and they're a force in that division. Can they beat Ohio State? Well, we're going to find out, that's for sure. But that Jonathan Taylor really is, he's some kind of running back. I really like what he's done, and he's going to finish in the top 5 of the Heisman Trophy. It's still going to come down to Tua, and it's still going to come down to Jalen Hurts, because these guys they light it up week after week. And the year that Hurts, you know what? It's not inconceivable that he sneaks up, and just like last year, and Kyler Murray won the Heisman Trophy, and obviously Tua was the odds-on favorite for the year. But he really, he's just putting up numbers that are incredible. And forgetting not forgetting to recognize Justin Fields and the job that he's done at Ohio State. And again, I give a lot of credit to Ryan Day. There was a lot of people questioning whether he can take over from such a legend like Urban Meyer, but he really has made this his team, and I love his decision to start Justin Fields and stay with Justin Fields, and he's paying big dividends. I really like the job that he's done. But like I said, Oklahoma and Alabama just keep on rolling. And there was another thing in college football that I wanted to bring up, because this is close to home. Steve and I mentioned we went to the Rutgers game last week to see against Boston College, and it was a beautiful day. The stadium is beautiful. The venue is awesome. And but this weekend, I've always made the statement, I don't believe that Rutgers belongs in the Big 12. I think they're just overmatched. So I even made a reference to Steve and our hosts that I didn't think that Chris Ash was even part of the discussion on timeouts and so forth. And we noticed things like that. And it turns out that they ultimately got crushed by Michigan, who, they can't beat Wisconsin, but they could kick a lame horse, when he's down. So 52-0 over Rutgers. But they did make the coaching change, and this is kind of a little personal to us, because Steve knows Nunzio Campanelli, who took over as the interim coach. And I've always believed, and I've made this statement to several of my friends and colleagues and fans of the show, that he didn't leave Bergen Catholic. The head coach of one of the, obviously one of the prominent high schools on the East Coast, big rival of our beloved St. Joe's, and just a national powerhouse altogether. And he was a phenomenal coach, and from what I understand, an absolutely great guy off the field. So I wish him success for the rest of the way, and I think it's a big, smart decision for Rutgers to go that route. He's got a lot of ties to New Jersey. His family is rich in coaching, history, and I used to watch him coach Bergen Catholic and beat powerhouse teams time and time again. And we wish Nunzio all the best in the remainder of the season, and I hope he gets the job full time. I hope they don't go back to Greg Schiano. There's a lot of rumors about that, a lot of other speculation about other guys, big name coaches, even Nunzio's brother, as possible candidates. But I think he's the right coach. I think they brought him there with that in mind, and I wish him all the best. And good luck, Nunzio. Good luck. Okay, so I want to just bring up our next segment. Again, we'll just as soon continue to cover the NFL and college football, of course, and with full disclosure in mind, St. Joe's, which is Steve and I's alma mater, and a real powerhouse nationally as well. They did go down in defeat and lost to a real tough St. Francis of Maryland over the weekend. So, we've mentioned them before. I think there was a 30 for 30 on ESPN of that team. Just, this is an NFL-sized team. These guys were giants, and the game was close at halftime. But you know what? St. Joe's can learn from this, and they play these kind of powerhouse teams, and I think it's great for them. And, you know, they held their own for the first half and ultimately lost 28-0. But you know what? They still got a very tough schedule to play, and it's no shame losing into the number 3 team in the nation. But they got some of their best days ahead, and we wish best to Augie Hoffman and the St. Joe's Green Knights going forward down the home stretch of the high school football season. And we certainly expect to see them in Giant Stadium for the parochial state championship before it's all said and done. So good luck to them. So now we're going to just move on real quick, because, you know, this segment, of course, is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, and they've been just as loyal as Coriano Trucking and Di Filippi's Bakery of Monticello, New York, and again, we continuously thank our sponsors. So the baseball season finally came to an end, and I need to give my partner, Steve, the kudos he deserved, because I did not think that the polar bear from Queens was going to hit 53 home runs, and he did. I think it's great that he did. I just didn't see it, but you know what? I should have saw it coming with these other guys that are hitting 30, 40 home runs, but it was awesome to see. It was great for New York. It was great for baseball, and he's a really good kid, and he's got a bright future. So, Steve, good call on that one. So now the playoffs are pretty much set, right? Wild card games, and again, you know, none of us saw the Milwaukee Brewers having such a great run at the end after losing Christian Yelich, but they sure did. And look for them to be a player in the National League. I know the Dodgers are the favorite and so forth, and the Cardinals won some big games down the stretch, but the Brewers just put it all together, and hey, hats off to Craig Counsell and those guys, because I didn't see that coming. But I still think the Dodgers, you know, with their pitching, they got a lot to play for. 2 World Series losses in a row. They got to be hungry. So we'll see how that pans out in the National League. The American League, really, you know, not a big surprise that the Yankees will be playing the Twins, and the Astros are the best record in baseball. Will play the winner of the wild card game, which that could go either way. I can't even make a prediction on that. But you know what? The way the Oakland A's have been playing, I think it's they're a team to look out for. They're absolutely a team to look out for. But I think, you know, ultimately it's either the Astros or the Yankees are coming out of the American League, and I can't see anybody knocking the Dodgers off. So I'd love to see a rematch of the Yankees and Dodgers. It's been quite a while since that's happened. There was some great World Series back in the 70s and 80s with those two teams, rich in history. Really good. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. You know, I think, you know, before we sign off, I mean, you got to give credit to this Houston Astros team, and they just had, you know, and it's kind of rare for pitchers to win 20 games, and they had 2. And not only did they both have incredible numbers, I mean, but Garrett Cole, I mean, 20 wins and 320 strikeouts. You know, you just don't see that kind of thing anymore. And keeping these ERAs, you know, under 3, you know, low 2s, and Verlander, I mean, you just don't see that anymore. I mean, you know, the National League's got a couple of good pitchers, Scherzer, of course, and Kershaw and so forth. But the year these two teams had, those 2 players had for the Houston Astros, amazing. You could flip a coin who's going to win the Heisman Trophy. I mean, really, not even sure who's gonna walk away with that. I think it's a lock in the National League for Max Scherzer again, which would be almost unprecedented. And I think the Nationals' Anthony Rendon is going to be the National League MVP. Just put up a phenomenal numbers. And I think it's a toss-up in the American League for the MVP. But I just wanted to make mention of that because you just don't see two pitchers have that kind of year, especially in this juice baseball era. Awesome. What a pair. And that, I mean, with the days off they now have in the playoffs and so forth, whoever plays them is going to have to face them, at least twice each in a 7-game series. So they're going to have their hands full. And one other quick thing, the Cubs cut bait with Joe Madden. I'm not sure why. I mean, led him to a World Series. I don't know what the tension there is with Theo Epstein and so forth, because he's a great manager. There has to be more to it that we don't know. But he's certainly not done, so he's going to get a job, and I think it's pretty evident that, after one season in Los Angeles with the Angels, they fired Brad Ausmus. After one season, they haven't had a good season in 12 years, even with the best player in baseball. And Socha got a free pass on it. I don't get that. So maybe that's where Madden is heading, potentially. And it's quite possible that we'll see Joe Girardi, who's always seemed to have some sort of ties from Chicago and so forth, might get back into the managerial role and take over the Cubs. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. Thought he was an excellent manager in New York and, won a World Series there. And it seems like the right fit. So maybe that's what this was all about. Not about Joe Madden's inability to manage the team and get blamed for them losing, probably 8 of their last 12 games. But they got a lot of talent in Chicago, and I think Girardi would be a good fit. Wouldn't be surprised at all. So I'm going to keep the show short this week because looking forward to having Steve back next week. But it's been a great sports time of the year, and we continue to look forward to bringing you and asking you to send us some email at sportswithmanoandmano@gmail.com. We love to hear your feedback. You guys as fans are very, very important to us, and we look forward to you continuing to listen and putting out a product that says, you know what, I haven't listened to the show yet, I'm going to listen to it. And it'll be up tonight, and it'll be usually by Tuesday mornings. You can wake up and on your way to work, just listen to the show. And again, I did mention DeFilippi's Bakery, I believe, so they are also another sponsor of ours. So you're up in Monticello, New York, pick up some blueberry pie because it's to die for. So thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll look forward to the next show. Steve will be back. And again, you got some feedback, please feel free. Send us an email, and we look forward to answering it and bringing it up on the show following week. So thanks, everybody. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next week on Sports with Mano and Mano.